Let me ask you something. Out of everything Jesus could have asked his followers to remember, why this moment? Why not his miracles that dazzled crowds? Why not that night he walked upon the waves, calm above the storm? Why not the breathtaking moment Lazarus walked out of the grave? Why not the Sermon on the Mount, where heaven touched the earth? Why, of all things, did Jesus choose a meal? Why did he choose bread and a cup? To find the answer, we must drift back, far back, into another time, another land, because the story of Holy Communion did not begin in an upper room in Jerusalem. It began on a dark night when death itself moved silently through a nation. More than 3,000 years ago, the children of Israel were bound in the chains of slavery. For over 400 years, their cries rose to God, aching for deliverance. And then, in his perfect time, God raised up Moses and sent him to stand before Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, carrying a message of freedom. 9 plagues came and went, yet Pharaoh's heart remained unmoved, hard as stone. Then God spoke of a final judgment. At midnight, death would sweep through Egypt. But before that dark hour arrived, God gave his people strange, almost mysterious instructions. Each household was to take a spotless lamb, not a sick lamb, not a damaged lamb, a perfect lamb. The lamb was to be killed, its blood brushed onto the doorposts, while its flesh was eaten inside the home. And notice this carefully. God did not tell them only to apply the blood. He told them to eat the lamb. Most believers understand the power of the blood, but many miss the quiet, steady significance of eating the lamb. The blood protected them from judgment. The lamb strengthened them for the journey ahead. That night, something extraordinary unfolded. Death passed over every house covered by the blood. And the next morning, when Israel walked out of Egypt, Psalm 105 tells us, there was not one feeble person among them. An entire nation stepped out of slavery, shielded by the blood, strengthened by the Lamb. But that Lamb was never the final plan. It was a prophecy. It was a shadow. And then, centuries later, when Jesus finally appeared, John the Baptist looked upon him and made an announcement that rippled through the world like a sudden wind over calm waters. Behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. And in that moment, everything began to fall into place. The lamb in Egypt had been pointing to Jesus. The blood on the doorposts had been pointing to Jesus. The Passover meal, all of it, every symbol and shadow, had been pointing to Jesus. Even the entire Old Testament had been whispering his name. Then came the quiet night before the cross. Jesus gathered his disciples for Passover, a feast that seemed familiar. Ordinary bread, a table, a shared meal. Yet heaven was holding its breath, for its greatest mystery was about to unfold. As the disciples sat around him, Jesus lifted the bread they had seen 1,000 times, bread they had eaten since childhood. But on this night, something shifted. Jesus gave that simple bread a meaning it had never carried before. He broke it gently and said, "This is my body broken for you." Then he lifted the cup, and with the same calm authority, "This is my blood of the new covenant." Imagine the stillness in that room. For centuries, the Passover lamb had been remembered. Now Jesus said, "I am the lamb." For centuries, people trusted in the blood of sacrifices. Now Jesus said, "My blood is the sacrifice." For centuries, eyes had looked, people had trusted in the blood of sacrifices, ancient, distant, familiar. And now Jesus was saying, gently yet boldly, "My blood is the sacrifice." For generations, eyes had turned backward to Egypt, to a story long remembered. But now Jesus was guiding them forward, toward Calvary, toward the moment everything would change. The next day, he would be beaten. The next day, he would be mocked. The next day, his body would be torn apart. And yet, the cup speaks. The table speaks. Everything quietly and clearly points to Jesus. And this is why Satan despises communion, because communion turns the believer's gaze back to the cross. The enemy wants your eyes fixed on your failures, but communion lifts them to Christ's victory. The enemy whispers guilt. Communion declares forgiveness. The enemy highlights your weakness. Communion reveals Christ's finished work. Every time a believer takes communion with understanding, something powerful begins to stir. Faith rises. Hope breathes again. The cross becomes vivid, alive. The sacrifice becomes personal. And the love of God feels new, fresh, like dawn breaking over the heart. That is why Paul wrote, "As often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes." Until he comes.